An act relative to patient limits in all hospital intensive care units, House number 4228.
Senator from Hampshire, Franklin and Worcester, Mr. Rosenberg.
The matter under consideration is the question of limiting the number of patients that a nurse would be responsible for in intensive care units in all hospitals in Massachusetts. And the bill basically says that a patient who is in an ICU is entitled to have one nurse assigned to them for their care, and that nurse has exclusive responsibility for that patient and no other patients at that time. And so we are, through this legislation, establishing that the appropriate staff ratio for a patient in the intensive care unit is one nurse, one patient.
In the space for the Speaker of the House, I was given the privilege to sign this bill. It's the Senate President's name, the Governor's name, and my name. When I tell you that I know what's in this bill, I know what's in this bill, and I stake my own name and my own career on it. This law was about one-to-one nursing care for a patient in the intensive care unit. It was clear in that language what we were agreeing to. We were agreeing to one-to-one nursing care in the intensive care unit. And that legislation was passed unanimously.
My name is Kyle Murray. I'm the Legislative Director and General Counsel for Senator Pacheco. As the Chief Sponsor of the original legislation and advocate who was involved in the enactment of the final legislation until the very end, I believe I have a very good understanding of the legislative intent. It is clear that the legislature intended to have a one-patient to one-nurse assignment with the ability to move to a two-patient to one-nurse assignment based upon the stability of the patients as assessed by the direct care nurses in the intensive care unit.
And we had the great pleasure of unanimously on the House side, as on the Senate side, of passing this bill. And we believe that we clearly understood the language of this pretty simply written bill, which is great, because I think the simpler bills can be written, the greater the opportunity for all who are going to be impacted by a bill to understand what that bill's intentions are. And so our intention when we voted unanimously to support this bill was that all intensive care units, whether it be neonatal, pediatric, cardiac, adult, gerontology, you name it, all intensive care units would be covered by this one-to-one ratio relative to this piece of legislation. It's a little mind-boggling to me, if you would, that there is somehow, some way that this particular piece of legislation is being interpreted differently than that. As one of 160 legislators and several others to my right and left who voted on this bill, that was our understanding. It's clear. All intensive care units. So that's the number one point I would like to make this morning, and I believe that all of my colleagues are in support of that statement. Secondarily, there is discussions being heard, my understanding, that there seems to be some gray area when you talk about one-to-one ratio. As a legislator, that seems pretty straightforward to me as well. One patient, one direct care nurse.
The appropriate staff ratio for a patient in the intensive care unit is one nurse, one patient.
It was clear in that language what we were agreeing to. We were agreeing to one-to-one nursing care in the intensive care unit.
It is clear that the legislature intended to have a one-patient to one-nurse assignment.
When you talk about one-to-one ratio, as a legislator, that seems pretty straightforward to me as well. One patient, one direct care nurse. Thank you very much.
Thank you.